Hey guys, hope you're doing well. Today's video is all about what I see as the priority in training, how I would actually allocate those priorities and translate it to an actual training program, and to give my side of the opinion on a bit of the debate, the old hand versus arm sort of training, strength versus technique, a little bit of that, but less about technique and strength, more about where I decide to allocate my strength. So I've always been a big proponent of hand strength being the absolute and utmost importance. So the philosophical question that I've asked myself throughout a lot of my different chapters in arm wrestling, as I've grown in the sport, as I've progressed and been able to beat better and better people, each time I've lost to someone, I've often asked myself, like, as we all do as arm wrestlers, when we lose to someone, we should be doing a sort of self-audit of what were we lacking, what were the things that we could have added to make the biggest difference in the match. Now, sometimes you feel like, oh man, that person got into my bicep. Okay, and there's this temptation for people to say to themselves, if only my bicep was stronger, I would have been able to hold that arm wrestler and eventually go on to win. Okay, here's the problem. The bicep, yes, sometimes our opponent is good enough to get past our hand and onto our bicep. And then in that scenario, sometimes it ends up bicep versus bicep, you're in a deep hook and no one's really dominant in a rotation sense, so it does end on bicep. Now, the problem with bicep focused arm wrestling is that there's not a lot of longevity in that. There's not a lot of, like, if you're pulling a super match or if you're pulling a tournament, getting hard in on your bicep, okay, you're pretty much signing yourself off for the next few rounds. If you get in a war involving your bicep, you're pretty much done for the tournament. It's pretty rare that you're going to go through. So the way that you become a great tournament arm wrestler or a great super match arm wrestler is by winning efficiently. And the only way to win efficiently is to deny your opponent's access to power, and the only way to deny your opponent's access to power is take away their access by having a superior hand. So the philosophical question that I've asked myself a few times when I've had losses is, I say to myself, if I could add, say, 10% strength to my static hold, or I could add 1% to my hand, which would I take? And, 10% is a lot on my bicep. It's a lot of extra bicep. But I always fall back on hand being the answer. And here's why. I'll give you an example. There's a guy in my local club. There's actually a few guys in my local club. Lachlan Adair and Doug Fatafi, and also big Marcus Satirai. Now these are three guys who are so much stronger than me. Okay, they have. If we were to measure their static hold and their just bicep ability, like I've got 16-inch biceps. These guys are all up around the 20-inch sort of zone, maybe even bigger. They're all far stronger humans in the arm sense than I am. Now, if I was to try to catch, let's say I lost an arm wrestle to those guys. But keep in mind that I just beat those three guys at my recent state championships. If I was to have lost an arm wrestle to those guys and said to myself, all right, I gotta make my arm stronger, it would take me 5 years, maybe longer, to close the gap on arm power. My arm is that far behind theirs. Now, don't get me wrong, I've got a strong arm. I can static curl 50 kilos. I can table curl. I think I've table curled 57 kilos. Like, my arm is stronger than the average person, that's for sure. But there are arm wrestlers out there with far stronger arms. Now, for me, if I was to try to catch Lachlan Adair on an arm sense, it'd take me a long time. Now, if I was to try to catch up to Lachlan Adair on a hand sense, that's a totally different thing. My hand is already at a level where I can beat Lachlan Adair. I beat him in my last comp. I beat Marcus Attiro, I beat Doug Fatafi, guys with way stronger arms than me. And the reason I was able to do that was because I had enough in the hand, combined with my execution, that actually got the job done. It meant that those guys never even were able to utilize their arm. So it all comes back to this, guys. The hand will trump everything. For me, how do I allocate that to my actual training is I put all of my time and energy on hand. Every time I start training something that isn't my hand, I start getting this kind of paranoia in the back of my mind saying, Ryan, you could be adding more to your hand right now, you could be adding more to your hand. And look, I've received a lot of criticism of this over the years. A lot of people say to me, dude, it's time that you put some arm power on. But I've never done it. I've never committed to an arm-based training, and I continue to progress. And look, I'm happy to stand here and say that I have progressed faster than most people think that I was even capable of. I've progressed further than most people thought I was capable of. If you go back and look at every year that I was in the sport, people set ceilings for me here, and now I'm here. And then they'd set ceilings for me here, and now I'm there. Okay, so my hand-based arm wrestling technique and hand-based training methodology has really served me well. And I'm not saying that there aren't people out there who have used an arm-based tactic to really become elite arm wrestlers. But it's not me. It's not the way I arm wrestle. I'm a true believer that hand matters most, and therefore I will always train hand first. My arm's going to get stronger. It's inevitable. Just being on the table, just getting time under tension in an arm wrestling sense is going to increase the strength of my arm. About once every 3 months I like to pull out a static hold and see what I can do. And over the years, my static hold has gone up dramatically, even though I don't train it actively. Yet my hand control continues to be the reason why I beat people that are stronger than me. It's one of the most common things that people say to me is, how do you get such strength out of arms so small? And it's not that I have such strength in my arm, it's that I have the ability and the capability in my hand to deny the access of the hands of my opponents, regardless of how strong their arms are. So keep that in mind, guys. If you want to work out how to train, if you want my recommendation, it's stick 100% with hand. Focus on that, even if it's only minor gains. 1% extra cup, 1% extra rotation is worth every bit more than 10% in arm, in my opinion. Doesn't matter how strong your arm is, if you can't keep that hand control, it's good night. Alright guys, take care, hope you're well, and I'll see you next time.